Hello and welcome to the Brutal Iron Gym podcast, where our goal is to cut through the BS and deliver the brutal truth about topics related to health and happiness. So today's topic is trainer education, and we're revisiting the series of owning your own gym. And today we're going to be talking about how to hire trainers. So our very first podcast in this series was podcast number 360, titled Owning Your Own Gym, My Story. So I basically talked about why and how I got started with opening Brutal Iron Gym. So this February will be 9 years. So it's a little bit about whatever got me started back then and how I got everything started. What I kind of got right about the first couple years in terms of my mindset and philosophy of owning the business, and then what I got wrong. So how I could have done that process more efficiently. So if that interests you, go listen to podcast number 360. So today's podcast was actually feedback from a listener of that podcast, and they asked some specific questions. One of them was in regards to hiring trainers. Another one was whether I'd recommend a public gym or a private gym. So I've worked at both. And there were some other kind of topics that had come up. So today I figured we'd take just a look at hiring trainers. And that way could take kind of a deeper look at it. And I'll save some of the other topics for the next couple rounds of podcasts. So at our gym, at Brutal Iron Gym, I've hired over 10 trainers throughout the 9 years. And sometimes we've had to kind of part ways with the trainer on, not the best of terms. And then most of the time, the trainers have kind of just moved on to different parts of their life. So in 9 years, not everybody, stays exactly where they were. So some people moved on, like trying to open up their own places. And there's just been good and bad reasons, a mix of reasons, why we have had that many trainers. And that's actually not that many. However, it is more than what I'd like. I wish I could just hire 3 and keep them forever. But I've also been involved in the hiring process or trainer I just blanked on the word, but basically analyzing whether a trainer is good or not at other gyms too. So I've helped hire trainers for other gyms, and I've helped kind of go in and kind of do critiques of trainers and see if a gym recommend if they should keep them or fire them. So all in all, I think I was trying to guess before I counted up before I started the podcast, but I believe it's somewhere between like 35 to 50-ish trainers that I've been involved with hiring in that process. So some of the things I've learned, some of the things like good and bad experiences, all that is what I want to share with you guys. So some bad experiences. One of the biggest mistakes that I've seen in my past and in the past of Brutal Iron Gym, and with the past of the other gyms that I've worked at, is hiring purely based on resume. So if the person has a really awesome, certifications, or if they have a really high degree of personal experience in their field. So maybe they got a pro card in the aesthetics sports, one of the aesthetic sports, or maybe they got, really a couple of national records or state records in powerlifting. They just have something that they accomplished that was high level, and or they have high level certifications. If you hire purely based on resume, there is an enormous amount of unknown elements. And what that is regards to is some of the people that I've seen hired purely based on resume have had absolutely horrible morals and ethics for business and for just how to deal with people. So like in terms of being nice and being respectful of people. So morals and ethics are pretty much unknown. And that would be true of kind of anybody, but just because they have a high quality resume doesn't mean they're going to be a high quality character of human being. So we've had people before who've charged an enormous amount of money for a copy and pasted program. So I know somebody that charged over $200 for a program that all they did into their computer was go and change the name from a past client to the new client, hit save and send. They send it to them and they charge them over $200. It's like, holy shit, you didn't even do anything. You didn't personalize that. You didn't check and see if those exercises were updated. There was absolutely no effort put in other than changing the person's name and sending it. Oh, that was horrible. Horrible, horrible, horrible to see. Um, but that stuff happens. So you also have unknown personal skills. So just because somebody has a high background of accomplishments and achievements in their sport doesn't mean they're going to be, again, a good character person. So I've had somebody in the past, I'm trying to be vague in the sense of whether it was at Brutal Iron Gym or at other gyms. And part of the reason why is because I'm trying not to get ruffled feathers. So if I was able to part ways with someone before and we were able to kind of have clean cut ties, I don't want to retie myself. So that's why I'm trying to be a little bit vague on this. But learn the lessons. The lessons are important, not the person's name. So, but we've had people who used their cell phone while they were training clients, and they'd be texting a friend or like checking an email, and they might say that they're not. They're like, oh, I'm just recording stuff for my client. No, it doesn't matter. So I've said this in past podcasts: is if you are holding your cell phone while you're training a client, it is a universal symbol of I don't give a shit. It doesn't matter if you actually are recording things in your phone for that client. It doesn't look good. It just doesn't. So what 99.99999% of the time we use our phone for is distractive activities, meaning we're not paying attention to what's in front of our face if we have our phone in our hand. And that's exactly what people are going to think you're doing. It doesn't matter if you're actually recording. What they think you're doing is texting and bullshitting and doing something like that you shouldn't be doing. And then what it does is it looks bad for you and it looks bad for your business. So whether your business is, like a gym that you don't own, or your business is actually your own business, it doesn't look good. So everyone else who can see you is potential clients, and they're going to see a negative image. You don't want to portray a negative image, so don't use your cell phone. Also, we've come across trainers who are very condescending to their clients. So just because they accomplished a lot doesn't mean that they have the right to talk down to people. And that was ridiculous to see that. As if all of a sudden, like, people should kiss their ass, or, all these people aren't good enough because they don't have six-pack abs. Oh, that's such bullshit. Bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. So it's really negative when you see that happen. You also have unknown philosophies. Just because something worked for them so they can reach a high level of achievement does not, 1,000,000% does not mean it'll work for everybody else. So I think podcast number 2, I'll have to look this up and I'll put it in the notes for this podcast introduction. But I think within the first 10 podcasts, we had like a podcast focused on the idea of advice given to you by somebody who's advanced in their sport or in their field. And oftentimes, just because they've achieved a lot doesn't mean they're a good teacher. Sometimes the reason why they achieved a lot was they were naturally gifted, everything came easy to them, and then they won't understand how to modify things for people that things don't come easy to. So sometimes I've seen trainers with great level of achievement, and they'll do the same exact things to their clients, not personalizing the approach for their clients' needs and what's best for them. They'll make them do exactly what they did, whether it fits or not. And that comes to like a squat stance, bench positioning. If you're looking at strength training, maybe they'll force them into sumo deadlift when they're better built for conventional, or vice versa. For aesthetics, maybe they got away with training really freaking heavy and that helped build their muscles. But when they try to make their clients train really heavy, they overload their joints, they cause injury, it just doesn't go well. Or they try functional weird movements that somehow their bendable Gumby joints have handled, but they make a client do it and the client says, oh, my knee hurts. And then that trainer just keeps putting the client through the same dumbass movements, and the client knee hurts more and more. Then all of a sudden they don't come back for training, and that trainer's left going, I don't know why they aren't coming back. No one ever stays. This industry is so fickle. People never commit. No, it's because you're beating the shit out of the people you're working with, and you're not paying attention to their joints and stuff like that. So that's kind of one of the downsides, is if you hire purely based on resume, you have unknown morals and ethics, unknown personal skills, unknown philosophies, and often, not always, but often, those people come with an ego. Meaning that if you want to correct anything in their morals or ethics, personal skills, or philosophies. They're not going to be open to those corrections. They might give you a yeah, whatever, kind of a positive response, but they won't make the change because I already know what I should do. I'm a professional, or I'm this, or I'm that, or I'm that. So they kind of have their label, which protects them from constructive criticism, so to speak. So it does not mean that people with great resumes will be bad trainers. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that people with great resumes aren't automatically good trainers. So you have to be careful about that. Another thing that I kind of went through, and that was actually a good experience of some things I got right over the years, thankfully there was at least something, was hiring based on the person. Okay? Is I would find somebody who had really good morals and ethics. They were good with kind of like personal skills, communication skills, and they were open to corrections, and they knew they had some stuff to learn, and they wanted to learn. They were eager to learn. And they needed money. So that was what has usually worked best for me, is when somebody has the need for the job, they're a good person, they have good communication skills, they're eager to learn, they kind of have their own goals and passions, and they're just a fun, good-hearted person to be around. Those are the best ones, absolutely by far the best ones to hire. You should always hire a good person over a good resume. So the reason why is if you know the person already has good morals and good ethics, you're not going to get it, like they're not going to do the copy and paste bullshit that the other trainers do. So they're always going to put the person first. They're going to take extra time to try to set up the program specifically for that person, or try to learn maybe new material that's specific for that person. They're going to genuinely care about the person they're working with. That's awesome. Then, if you know the person's already a good person, you know that they already have good kind of communication skills. So if everybody around them generally has positive vibes and positive things to say about them, you know that they probably are a good listener. That's what people respect in others, is somebody who's a good listener. You know that they probably are going to care about the person they're working with. They're going to take their fears and concerns into account. So they're not going to just shove them into the same program that everybody else does. They're going to actually listen to them and say, oh, okay, well, if this exercise hurts your knees, even if I don't know how to modify it, I'm going to go learn how to do that. And then we'll find a better way for you. That's going to be the better trainer. And again, like I said, listening skills, they're not going to talk about themselves. They're not going to show up in a piss mood and complain about the world. So I've actually had trainers who complained about other clients to their clients. Stupid. Very stupid. So it just, oh my gosh. So if somebody's willing to gossip about others, they are willing to gossip about you, just not when you're around. Okay? So you have to be very careful about that. And generally, if the person is a good human being, generally good character, they're going to understand constructive criticism is you wanting to make them better. You want to invest into them so they can better themselves. That's what constructive criticism, not just criticism, but constructive criticism is it's an investment from the one person giving the constructive criticism, an investment into the other person because you want them to be better and you believe that you know information that might help. So if you hire someone who's a good person, they're going to be more open to corrections. They're also going to be more open to kind of taking a lifestyle, long-term approach to their clients. So they're not going to try to beat the shit out of their clients just so they can have an awesome 6-week transition, put up before and after photos, and make more money on the next client. They're not going to just use clients for advertising and money. They're going to actually give a shit about the client. So they're going to take care of them, meaning they're going to take care of their joints. They're going to make sure they progress them at the rate that's appropriate rather than pushing them through things. I've also known trainers who gave their clients illegal drugs. Unknowingly, gave their clients diuretics and or anabolic variations of steroids. Unknowingly, just so they can get faster progress and get progress pictures. So before and after photos. So I had a client come to me once. They had left a trainer in a nearby large city. And I said, hey, let me see what you're doing like training and nutrition wise. And it didn't kind of add up. Like something looked kind of odd. And I don't really know why, I just kind of naturally thought of the idea. I said, well, what are you taking like supplements wise? So they gave me a list of supplements, and two of the things they were taking were illegal diuretics. And they said, oh, the trainer just gives them to me every month. I just buy the supplements from the trainer. Oh my gosh. So that was horrible. So I had to tell them that what they were taking was actually illegal. And it was long term severely detrimental to their health. But that trainer wanted the before and after photos just so they could sell more programs and promote themselves. So they were ruining another person's life just so they could make more money. That trainer is a piece of shit human being. Okay? And I have absolutely done my best to keep people away from that trainer. But it is a known fact, in my opinion, that when you hire a good person, you're going to get a good trainer. If you hire a good resume, you don't really know what you're getting. So the lesson that I've learned, the lesson that I now apply when I'm hiring trainers is, I can make you a good trainer. I can't make you a good person. So I can take a good, high character person and teach them how to be a trainer. That's what I do. Okay? So I have a teaching certification, health and phys ed. I actually taught at the local university for 7 years. And obviously through these podcasts, I have an enormous amount of material. Hopefully some of it's good. But I have material. I have experience. I know how to teach someone to be a good trainer. I have an idea how to teach somebody to be a good person, but they have to want that for themselves. So that's the philosophy that I take now, is when I meet with the person, I want to take the time to get to know them a little bit. Ask them some questions. I'll talk about that here in a second. But you have to get to know the person. You want to hire the person in front of you, not the resume. Some of the best trainers I've ever hired and or worked with didn't have certifications at all. They just cared. And some of the worst trainers I've hired and or worked with had the greatest certifications or the greatest levels of achievements and experience, but they were horrible human beings. And it's a bummer that that stuff exists, but it does. So that's been the biggest lesson I've learned when hiring trainers, is hire the person, not the resume. It is helpful to look at the resume. It's cool if they have a certification. It's great if they have some experience. But none of that matters if they don't have good character. Hire the person before you hire the resume. Okay. Now, in the hiring process, I think it's extremely, extremely, extremely beneficial and extremely important, hence why I just said extremely like 17 times, is to ask them personal questions. Ask them what got them started in their health and happiness journey, like their health and fitness journey. Ask them what their goals are. Ask them a little bit about their journey, like their pathway. What have they been through? That's going to tell you a lot. So that's going to tell you whether it's a passion or a paycheck. That's going to give you an idea of what their philosophies are. So if they've only been doing it a short term and, short time, they're like, I want to be a pro in 3 years. I'm doing this, and it's all supplements and just all the high rate, the what is cool right now in social media stuff, kind of bullshit. So that's a big red flag. But if they talk about, hey, it's a marathon, not a sprint. I try to eat healthy and make it a lifestyle. I stay in the gym. I'm pretty active. My goals, and they say stuff that seems very, accomplishable, but an appropriate timeline. So maybe they do want to be a professional in like an aesthetic sport, but they understand, and you can hear in the way they're talking, that it might take years to do so. And they understand the discipline it might take. So they might say, yeah, I'd really love to get my pro card in men's bodybuilding. But I know that's going to take some time. I know I have to really tighten up on my food and learn as much as I can about food and training to just continue to get better so that way I can continue to make progress. That would be an amazing answer if you got that from a trainer. Hire them on the spot. But I have had trainers who come in, and I had one trainer. I don't think they're going to listen to this podcast, so I don't think I have to worry about offending them. But they came in and they said, this stuff makes me laugh. But basically they said that the gym, Brutal Arm Gym, didn't have anybody impressive in it. There were no members that were impressive. There were no members that were freaks. And they said, so I'm going to come in here and I'm going to show everybody how they really should train. I'm going to be the freak for this gym. I'm going to really put this gym on the map. First of all, go screw yourself. So the person who said this was not strong at all. They had really, they had vague abs, but if you weigh under 200 pounds, you should have abs. Feel free to be slightly offended by that, anybody. But if you talk about being like a freak, and you better be freaky. Like, there better be something about you that's unique. And there wasn't. There was nothing about that person that was unique. I don't mean to sound rude, it's just factual. And the mindset that they came in with was just horrible. Horrible, horrible, horrible. I had another person that came in and they wanted to get hired, and the first thing they started talking about was how much they would charge people. So they're like, well, in this industry, in this market, I'd easily be able to charge $60 an hour. I'll give you what you ask. But if I start pulling in more money, maybe we'll have to redo these numbers. Go screw yourself. So that's not a good way to approach this. So I've interviewed, by the way, a lot more than the people I've hired. So the number is actually a lot higher in interviews. So we are fortunate in the sense that Brutal Iron Gym is I like it. It's a cool place. So I was about to say it's a cool gym, and then I felt like it was kind of a dorky to say that as the owner, but it is a pretty cool gym. So we do have a lot of people who want to come and train, which I'm very fortunate and I'm grateful for. I don't take that for granted, but it is surprising how few of the people are actually of the quality that I'd want to hire. That has been kind of depressing over the years to see that. But you'll have people just come in with just crazy, crazy, crazy personalities. And it's so important during that hiring process to ask them personal questions so you can find that stuff out. They might be able to put on a pretty good front for a little bit, but if you start talking for 10, 15 minutes, you're going to quickly find out what that person's like. So that's the first thing I do, is just sit down, have 10 to 15 minute talk about, what got them started, their philosophies, their training styles, like what their goals are, all those things, personal things. Then, no matter how painful this feels to do, so if you're going to take any of my advice, please take the following one. Okay, don't omit this. Is create a list of expectations, of expected behavior. Meaning the trainer will be on time to meet with their client. And it is only acceptable to be late every once in a while. And if they go, well, how often is once in a while? I would say, maybe late once every 2 months or so. And if they kind of scoff at that, oh, really? Geez, that's not good. If they go, oh, I'm never really late, that'll be fine. Boom, you're good. So, but have that, an expectation of them showing up on time, an expectation that they won't have their cell phone in their hand. And if they say, oh, I record everything on my cell phone, say, hey, here's this invention called a pen and a paper. Use these things. They do the same thing. You can actually write, this pen makes a mark when you drag it across paper, and you can write symbols that are similar to the symbols on your keyboard on your phone. So you can be a sarcastic jackass like I am right now, but get them to understand what you expect of them. They should be on time. They should listen to their people. They should personalize what they do. They should record information for their client, so that way they actually know what the hell to do with them over time. So if they're never writing anything down, that means they're not really paying attention to that client's progressions. So trainers should record information from their clients, so that way they can progress them and pay attention to them and pay attention to their individual needs. So you want to write down what you would expect a trainer to do. I did not do this when I first started hiring trainers, because I assumed they just wouldn't be piece of shit human beings. And sometimes that has turned out not to be true. So, just like why we have rules at Brutal Iron Gym. I had to actually make rules and make adults stand and read those rules. And the rules were, put stuff back where you found it. If you get something sweaty, wipe it off. Don't be an asshole to everybody. Why in the hell do I have to make adults read that? And then worst of all, why in the hell don't they actually still follow through with it? oh my God. So it's amazing, amazing, amazing over the years to see what people get right and what people get wrong. Now, I get a lot of stuff wrong in my life, but it doesn't involve, not putting things away. It doesn't involve like not wiping things down if I get them sweaty. So I have been counting, by the way, and I've made 9 mistakes in 8.75 years in terms of not putting stuff away in the gym. So I've left something out in the gym that another member or trainer had to clean up after me 9 times. So I'm averaging, like, my goal is to not make another mistake here by the end of this 9th year. So I will be 1 mistake per year. So, does everyone make mistakes? Yes. So do I expect everybody to make only 1 mistake per year? Kind of, sort of, but I know that's not realistic. But if they're making mistakes all the time, that's not good. So, but you need to write this down, or you need to have an idea presented to the trainer that them being on time is important to you. Them not being on their cell phone is important to you. You need to set the expectations of what you feel is important and let them know that you find those things important. It might not be important to them, but they need to know if it's important to you. Cool. Now, you want to also include a feedback form and see how open they are to correction and guidance. So you can say is, hey, at the end of every week, I might shoot you an email and just tell you, maybe some tips or things that I think might help you along the way based on what I see throughout the week. A good trainer will go, oh man, that'd be super awesome. Like, thank you. A bad trainer would say, well, I have been training for, X number of years. I kind of already know what I'm doing. So if they shut down feedback, red flag, don't hire them. If they're excited about feedback, hey, that's a positive. That's a good thing. Okay. The next thing you want to do is establish a trial period. Make sure that they know when they get hired, it's not just a free-for-all, do what you want now. Tell them that there's a trial period. You can name it whatever the hell you want to name it. But establish with them that there is a time frame in which they will still be analyzed and kind of watched over, and there is still a chance that the job is not fully theirs. And you can word that in a much better way than what I just did. But the idea of it is you have to protect your business. So if you're hiring a trainer, everything they do reflects on you. So you want to give yourself time to be able to back out of that contract to make sure that you don't commit yourself to somebody who negatively reflects on you. So we do this with our membership. Like, everybody who joins the gym, they have one week for free to try the gym and see if they like it. Secretly, it's so I can see if I like them. So if they don't put stuff away, what do you know? They don't get to join. So that key fob just magically stops working. When they ask, hey, my key fob doesn't work, I'd say, apparently neither do your hands and feet. You never put anything back. We don't like those types of people at this gym. Everybody at our gym is responsible for their own behavior. Other people do not need to clean up your shit. Clean up your own shit, and you can practice at some other gym. So I probably worded it a lot nicer than that, but that's basically what I want to say. So, but give them a trial period, okay? Give them time, or like a week, 2 weeks, maybe a month. I'd suggest longer, like a month, and let them know that, hey, I'd love to hire you. Let's go ahead and get this started. But, let's give it a month, see how it goes, and then we'll kind of make it official after that. That just gives them a little bit of heads up that they need to be on their best behavior, and you can see how they're going to act, okay? Now, the last thing I want to cover is kind of like the pay scheme or some payment ideas. Let me switch over the video for the YouTube crowd.